and welcome to building HTML5 mobile apps with cloud services. So my name is Max Katz. I run developer relations for Tiggzi, which is a mobile app platform, right? Running entirely in the cloud, and has a number of components, and all of them working together are going to give you a mobile app, a real mobile app. All right. So first, we got a basically IDE running in the browser. That's the app builder, right? Think kind of a NetBeans Eclipse, obviously not as doesn't have that many features, but again, think IDE in the browser. The app that you get is pretty much a standard HTML5 jQuery mobile app. All right. You can also export the app as PhoneGap or Apache Cordova, right? So that framework gives you access to device features. Okay, and of course you can also, in addition to just exporting the app as a hybrid app, as I said, you can also access device APIs. Whichever PhoneGap or Apache Cordova provides, you can do. So that's for the sort of the UI portion. REST APIs. So there's a huge explosion of APIs happening right now. And you might have, I'm sure you've read and heard, but there's this whole API economy happening where everyone is exposing their services, their resources as APIs. Perfect example, Twitter and everyone else. So you can consume any REST APIs that are available on the internet or you guys build. All right? Anything. Okay? So APIs are very cool, but most of them provide very specific functionality. But what happens if you want to save data, right, into a database? So the platform also provides a cloud database, and to be more specific, MongoDB, where you can save pretty much anything, right? And what's really nice is that anything you save into MongoDB is instantly exposed as REST APIs, and if it's exposed as REST APIs, it means you can basically use in your app, all right? There are some other features like push server-side code. It's not available yet, but it's also sort of part of backend services. And of course, again, at the end of the day, you get a mobile app. So you need development tools, right? The app is HTML, mobile app, can also be a hybrid app. And then for your backend data, you got REST APIs, third-party REST APIs, and backend services and cloud database. All right? But that's actually the only slide that I have. All right? I've got actually one more I'm going to show you later. But what I'm going to do now is actually I'm going to build an app for you. I'm going to show you basically everything that I described here. All right? And what's really also pretty cool is that you guys will be able to try the app as I build it. All right? You guys don't sound excited. All right. So again, the actual platform is called Tiggzi, and this is sort of the first, the main page or the projects page. So I'm going to create a new app, and I did one yesterday, so we'll call this Java 1 Mobile App 2. Click Create, and it's going to load. Again, it's going to load the builder. Also, in just a few seconds, you're going to see it's going to say connecting to collaboration server. So there's basically kind of a Google Docs thing built in where you can collaborate on the app with other developers or customers or whoever at the same time or a different time. So just a few more seconds here. All right. So this is the builder, and this is the phone frame, or you can also do a tablet. So on this side, we got jQuery mobile components and HTML5 components. So important thing, again, you always start with the HTML5 mobile app, right, or jQuery. So jQuery is used as a UI framework. And to start, you basically take components and you drag and drop them like this. Well, let's change this to, make this to be a placeholder. I'm going to get a button component. So I guess I should mention what I'm building. The first part I'm going to be building using Twitter's REST API. We're going to be searching Twitter for whatever you enter here. You'll be able to get all the tweets that have this keyword that you entered, right? So that's the first part. We got a button, and we can make this. We can change this to app. Now, because this is HTML5 mobile app, which means then you can run it in any browser, desktop browser, but of course you want to be able to run it on the mobile browser as well. So testing is incredibly simple. There is a test button, and what it will do, it will open the app. All right, so this is the real app, right? The frame is just sort of for us to see where the app is. I can also launch it without the frame. All right. Now, it doesn't do anything yet. It will. So let me make it public so you guys can actually try it. Public, and just for a second, so this is how it looks without the frame, right? This is sort of the real app. And what I'm going to do now, actually, I'm going to create a shortcut for you because you don't want to type the long URL. All right, and this is from yesterday, so why don't we do it 13, right, for next year? We'll take that shortcut. Awesome, it's available. So if you guys go on your phone, tablet, if you type in this URL, you'll be able to get, all right? Again, tinyurl.com, Java 1.13. An alternative method is you guys can, it depends on the device and how far you can scan the top QR code, this one right here. If you would like, you can try with your phone, and you'll get the app as well. Again, make sure you scan the top one. So let me know when someone gets it. All right? And again, the shortcut is tinyurl Java 1.13. All right, shall we continue? Very good. So this is for the input. This is for input. Now let's get the output. We're going to display the tweets. So I'm going to use a grid component, and it has two columns by wrong place. It has two columns by default, useful for layout. In the first one, I'm going to put an image component, and that's for the Twitter picture. Now, I know ahead of time the size that Twitter sends me back is actually 48 by 48. That's why I'm going to resize the grid, the image. In the second column, I'm going to put two labels. This is the Twitter username, and this is the Twitter text. Right? There are also a bunch of themes, jQuery mobile themes, and this is just a short list, but we can do something like this. And if you guys refresh on your devices, you'll be able to get this. All right? Works? All right, so basically, if I said this is all we have, this is already pretty nice because you can build the UI for your app, basically. And you can write JavaScript, and you can, of course, create multiple pages, and you can navigate within the pages. So basically, again, the UI portion for your app, and you can do some dummy data with JavaScript maybe, and so on. But this is just, of course, not everything. We want to be able to get REST services, and that's exactly what we're going to do next. So again, I'm using Twitter. Twitter is simple. Everyone knows how it works. But as I said, any REST API out there, if it's open, requires authentication, OAuth 2, doesn't matter. You can use. All right? Again, this is just a tool. The app is just HTML5 mobile app at the end. So it's not some secret framework that we're using here. All right, let's create a service. So go to project. I'm going to create a service. And let's just rename it. So it's Twitter service. And this is the service editor. So right here, I'm going to enter the Twitter URL. All right? So again, anything goes here. Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it. All right. Now, every service usually has inputs and outputs, and that's what we need to define next. So request parameters. In Twitter's case, the one that it requires is Q, stands for query, has optional parameters. I'm not going to worry about it now. It's Q. It's also really nice, once you define the service, you want to make sure it works. All right? And we can test the service here. Test connection, and we can enter Java 1, click test, and we went to Twitter and got all the tweets. Now, next step would be to create the service response, right? But what we can do, because we got this JSON back, we can actually automatically create the response. And clicking this button, it will automatically create the response. So this is everything I back from Twitter, right? And so it supports JSON and also XML, right? But this is, now I could have done this by hand, but obviously this would take much longer. All right, so we got output, we got input, and we got the actual service. All right, so save and close. Now we need to add the service onto the page and take the service, drag and drop it, and this indicates the service is on the page. Next, I need to bind the service to the page. Right, so I defined the service, I added the service to the page, now I have to bind the service. And for that, I go to data mapping, and let me do it like this. And this is the service, and this is my page. All right, this is the input component, so I'm taking the input component and mapping it to the service. Right? And you can also write JavaScript if you need to. Again, this is just running in the browser. So any JavaScript, anything the browser supports, you can do when you use local storage. Right? So this is for input. Now let's go to response mapping and result. This is the collection. This is everything back from Twitter. Now results, this is the collection of all the tweets. So I'm going to map it to the grid. Now, why do I want to map it to the grid? This is going to give me a looping feature because I get multiple tweets. Right? Now, text is the tweet text. I'm going to map it to the second label. From user is the Twitter username. And the last thing we need to do is the URL. All right? So again, you can write JavaScript here and mention you can save stuff into local storage if you need to. Okay? So done with the mapping. Let's go back here. All right? And the last thing we need to do is we need to invoke the service on button click. So we go to click search, events. So these are just the browser events, right? Again, just the button supports. And we select click and invoke service. We select the service, click OK, and we can test. So if you guys refresh, you'll be able to get the same thing. All right, let me know when you guys get it. Anyone got it? Yes? All right, yeah, make sure you refresh. So this is a real app, right? I mean, it's not super complicated, but it's more than just hello world that people usually do, right? You guys think it's awesome? But yeah, I mean, you will know, I can open it without the frame, and of course, that's basically, this is how it's going to look. Right? But of course, on a mobile device, it's going to be much smaller. All right, a few things. I mentioned PhoneGap, right? Or how do you get this app out, right? So there is an export button, and there are options. You can export the app. So first, you can get, if you want to build just a pure mobile app, which means it's going to run on any device with the browser, you just export it right here. All right? You can also get the source code. So this is already with PhoneGap or Apache Cordova. So you can get Eclipse project, Xcode project, or Visual Studio project for Windows Phone. And this is Windows Phone 7. All right? For Android and iOS, we got a binary. We can actually package the app for you. Right? This Android is obviously very simple. Once you download the file, you're 5 minutes away from putting in the Google Play because Google makes it pretty simple. But Apple, for obvious reasons, is going to take a little bit more time. As an example, if I click here, it's going to go and build. This might be more than just 10 seconds. But at the end, there's going to be a QR code will appear here. And you can actually scan the QR code with your Android phone, and you'll be able to download the app and try it on your phone. All right? I mean, I can open it later at the end, so if you guys want to scan, you can actually do that. right? And install the app on your phone for Android. Okay? Well, let's see. Well, we can come back, but let's wait maybe after this one. 10 more seconds. Ah, 10 more. Well, it will finish. Let's wait for 5 more, and here we go. Right? And yeah, you don't have to scan it now. If you want, you can scan it later. I'm going to add more stuff to the app. All right? Okay. Very good. So this is, again, and I think what's really amazing is that this is built entirely in the browser. So nothing to install, nothing to download. It's a mobile app, and it consumes a cloud service, right? And of course, you can export the app if you want to, and you can get the Eclipse project, you can get the Xcode project, and again, you can continue working whatever, in your favorite tool if you would like. All right? So again, any REST API out there, anything, you can easily consume here. Now, really quickly, before I move into the cloud database, I want to show you, there is this notion of plugins, right? And what's a plugin? It's basically similar to an Eclipse plugin, but it's prepackaged functionality. You can prepackage services and pages together, all right? And to give you an example, let's say you're building a mobile app where you want to have the ability to send SMS messages, right, through an API, not through the native app. So there are companies that do that. AT&T is one of them. It provides API for sending SMS messages. Twilio, I'm sure you guys probably heard of Twilio. It has APIs, again, to send SMS messages. So I create new from plugin, and I select communication, and I select SMS API, right? And again, it comes prepackaged with a service to send the SMS message and a page, a sample page. So import. Now, every API, usually when it's something like, more than just searching Twitter, is going to require you to register an app with their service, right, and get keys so you can use the API. It's pretty much standard for it. Now, so you would need to go to developer.att.com or any other service. You have to register, create an app. They're going to give you a key, right? Sometimes one key, maybe 2 keys, but again, it's after the service. And you would enter the values here. But we can just keep them blank, so we can just click Save. Now, what happened is we got an SMS page imported that looks like this. All right? So it's ready to go. It got 2 services here. So the first service is called Get Token. This is just how AT&T SMS works. You first have to authenticate against the service, AT&T. Then you get a token, and then you can use to send the SMS message. All right? But this is kind of the basic idea is, and you guys can create your own plugins, actually. But the basic idea is to simplify this even further. So like the Twitter I just did, right? It is possible to create a plugin where you just basically import, and it's available for you out of the box. So I guess it's something along the ways like people build JavaScript SDKs. So this is kind of a plugins, similar concept. So even, let's simplify stuff even more. All right? But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually add a database, right? Cloud database. And let's do that. Let me close the pages here. All right, so database. All right, so we got MongoDB running in the cloud. And this is a list of all databases. I'm going to create a new one. Java 1, let's see. I already have one. So Java 1, 12 DB, create. All right, so this is my database. Dashboard, collection, so this is your tables or collections. It has a built-in user management, which means if you have a user you can register a user can sign in, user can log out, user can change his or her password. File management means you can upload files. All right, now let's go to collections. Let's create a new collection. We'll call this, we'll have interactive feedback. You guys can type stuff, anything you want, into the app. All right? And so we got a collection feedback. Obviously, you can create multiple collections. These are default columns, but let's create a new column and just call this text. And create, right? Text. Now, what's really nice is that you actually enter sample data here. So we can do Java 1, 2012. We can do one more. Right? Now, of course, I want to be able to display this list in my app. And as I said, anything that exposes REST, you saw how easy it is. And in fact, you can see REST, and if you click on, you actually get a curl command. Right? So you can actually test if you want from a command line. Right? But now having this command, I can actually create a service, and I can get this list. Right? So let's do that. So this is the URL. I'm going to get the URL. I'm going to go back here and create a new service. Let's call this feedback get. All right, this is the URL. Now I do need to change. My collection is called feedback. Right, and the other thing I need to do is there is a key that identifies the database, identifies me, right, which database. So it's like a token from AT&T. This one, in this case, it's a database ID. That's a so request parameters, I create one here, and now I'm going to copy its value, and I need to make it a header. Now, very easy, right? We want to test to make sure it works. And we click test, and right away I get the response, right? Next step is to create the service, the actual response structure, JSON structure. Again, I could do this by hand, but I can also just click this button, right, and do it automatically. And you see in about a minute I got a service, all right? So let's save, let's close. Let's create a new page, and we call this right, and let's rename this to, and let's use another component. Let's use a list component now. So take a list component, and I'm going to make round corners. And now, because I'm again looping over my values from a database, I don't need the 3 items here. This is kind of for a static list. So I'm actually going to just have 1. All right, make sense? As before, I'm going to add a service to the page. Right? I define the service, I add the service to the page, and then I have to bind the service to the page. I go to mapping. Nothing for input, the key is already set by default. So for input mapping. Now for response, this is what I need. This is the collection of all the text. Oh, there we go. Text items and then the text. All right? Now, back here, the last, as sort of before, in a previous example, we would invoke the service on button click. But again, we can use any browser event. It doesn't have to be, so we can use page load, for example, in this case, right? Because we have nothing to click on. So I go to events, and I select page load, and then as before, invoke service. And I select the service, all right? And, so if I launch it now, it's going to open the Twitter page because it's the first page, right? What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make it make the database to be the first page. So let's do that. So I go to project settings and feedback test. All right, and this is what I get. Now, for you guys, you have to make sure the URL is sort of clear because you might have the actual page name. So what I'm going to do is on the Twitter page, I'm actually going to add a button so it's easier for you. Twitter, where's Twitter? Right here. Give me a sec. I'm going to add a button to take you to that page. So we'll call this just next. All right, we'll add a click event. And we'll add a navigate to page and feedback. All right, so if you guys reload the Twitter page now, you'll have a button in the header, which will make it easier for you to navigate. All right? Or again, in the URL, just delete that first page, and it's going to load the new default, the new index page, basically. All right? But either way, let me know when you guys get this. All right? All right, so this is pretty nice, but let's also add the ability to actually add new items, right? So you guys can actually type stuff. Okay, so let's do that. So let me close. All right. Now, I mentioned this is a platform, right? And now if it's a platform, obviously, it should somehow be aware that you have this app and then you have this database, okay? And that's exactly what it does, is that I showed you how to create a service now by basically manually defining it. But there's actually even a simpler way to do that. Because again, the builder is aware what databases I have created. And we can basically generate all the services automatically. Now, again, if I wanted to do a create, I would just click here, and there is a curl command, and I would basically, right? But I can go to project, and I can do database services. And right here, I get a list of all my databases. And this is the one that right? So database 12. So this is for user management. So every database gets this by default. So you can do login, log out, and sign up. And this is my collection. So I've only got one collection, and it shows mine. I can check all of them or just create. Right? So I want to generate the service for creating a new feedback item. So import, and then what happens is it creates a service here, and it got the URL automatically, and I get all the input parameters automatically, and I also get the output automatically. Right? So it's even simpler. Okay? And as before, I can also test this. And we can say new. It's fine. And this indicates that it's working. I can close. I can go back here. I can click on feedback. And this is right here. All right? Now, let's now modify the page, and let's this one. Let's get, well, let's open this back. All right, we'll put an input component, and we can say new, I don't know, item, doesn't matter. And we can make this to be a placeholder, and let's add a button. And we can say add, and we can even make this fancy, and we can add a little plus on this side. All right? All right, let's add a service to the page as before. So adding a service. And we need to do data mapping as before. So here we go. It's a little bit easier to see this way. So the only thing we need to map is the input from the page. And the input is right here. So I map it like this. Right? So that's now for the response mapping, it returns the ID of the object created and the time created, but I'm not going to actually use it here, so I don't have to map anything back to the page. But you could. All right? And as before, the last step we need to do is we need to invoke the service. So we go to events, click, invoke service, and you can rename these so they're a little bit more easier to know which one. But this is 7. And there's one more thing, is I'm going to add a new item to a database, right? But my UI, I have to update the UI, right? So there are 2 ways to do it. I can do it on the client. I can basically add a new item to the list on the client, right? Or I can just go ahead and do another request and reload the new list. And because I already have the service to reload to get the list, I'm just going to use that. So I'm going to have 2 requests. So I add a new item, and then once the create service successfully finishes, I'm going to use its success event. And this is just jQuery. And invoke service. All right. Test. Click add. All right. So you guys can now try the same. Don't say anything bad. All right. But I can refresh and see what you guys are saying. All right. Give it a try. Should I refresh? Oh, very nice. Oh, nothing bad so far. I was doing a demo once in San Diego at a users group, and I got some really bad things people typing. I mean, not about me, but just kind of not good things. Let's see, let's do one more reload. Awesome. Very good. We can actually track, we're getting location, so we can track where you entered, where you're sitting. No, we can't, so. So. All right. Well, let me show you one more thing. You guys all know about, there's another conference running in Europe, so kind of the European Java one called Devoxx. Have you heard of Devoxx? Awesome. So they also have REST API for schedule, right? So you can see the schedule, you can see schedule by day, schedule by speaker. So an example, let's say you want to build an app that uses, right, their API. So let's go to Devoxx. Yes, of course.
The tool, you're running it on your own server, right, on the cloud?
Yes, running in the cloud.
Is that the default way of working, or is there a possibility of running it in-house? What if the services are not public services?
Yeah. So the question was if the tool is running in the cloud, and so yes, it's running in the cloud, the builder. The other question was, I'm just repeating, so that if the services are not public, I mean, if you're using this public version, the services need to be accessible somehow. They don't need to be completely open, right? You can log in, you can do OAuth 2. Yes, you can do authentication, but they need to be accessible on the internet, one way or another. This is kind of a custom option where you install it within your private cloud, but that's sort of custom installation. So, one way or another, if you're running it, your service has to be accessible on the internet.
Because I'm thinking about the typical enterprise who wants to open their services, not to everyone, but to some partners. But in that case, is there an option for that? So the private cloud would be the option?
So private cloud would be one option. Or you would have to authenticate, right? So if you have partners who you want only these people to use, then you put authentication, secure, yeah. So. And again, you can do like login with Facebook or login with Twitter. You can do that. It's all possible. All right, so here are the REST APIs that they have. And what we can do, I know it's kind of hard to see, but let's get this. It's the schedule by day. All right? So it has 5 days, Monday through Friday, and then you can get a schedule. So let's try that. And we're going to create a new service. All right, and paste. Now, number of days. So every day is actually, like Monday is 1 and then Tuesday is 2. So let's do day 4, for example. All right? And we can test. I'm actually going to get an error, but on purpose. So again, I'm getting an error message saying it's not working. So this is very useful, and you can see the actual response. is I didn't specify the event ID. All right? So again, if you get an error, it's not a bad thing. It's actually pretty useful to kind of, oh, something is wrong with the URL maybe. And we can easily go, and now know the ID for this event is 7. No, 7. All right? And test connection, and I get the JSON, right? And again, what's really nice, and if you guys try it, you'll see that using this automatically creating the JSON response makes it super easy to try services out there, right? I mean, even if you guys want, if anyone has a service, I can try it. I mean, it has to be open though, right? So if you guys want to give me a service, I'll try it because this makes it super easy, right? I got all the structure. So save, close. As before, let's quickly create a new page. All right, palette, and let's get a list component. And again, we don't need the 3 items. And let's add the service, which is right here. Mapping, there's nothing for input, right? So this service doesn't require any input besides the day in the URL, all right? And you could actually dynamically insert days into URL. So it doesn't have to be hard-coded, right? You can pass the date from page to, right, to be invoked. And so mapping, the only thing we need to do for response mapping is right here. So we're going to map, and it just opens automatically as I put the mouse over. And title goes here. And finally, as before, we want to invoke and load, which is right here. Invoke service. Okay. So the only thing is we need to change the page again. Let me do that. Devox. What I'm going to do is I can create an index page where there are links to each separate. So you see pretty much in under 2 minutes you get this. Now, the empty ones, it's actually because in the schedule they have like breakfast and coffee breaks, which are not official. It's not an actual presentation. So you actually need to add some logic, right? So if it's not a session or if it's a breakfast or registration and so on, then you do something else. So it's also possible. But out of the box, I mean, you see how simple it is. And of course, you can click on an item and you can look at details, right? How would you do that? Very simple. So every presentation has an ID. So on click, you would save the ID somewhere. The easiest way is to save it into local storage. Browser's local storage. You save it into local storage, the ID. On the next page, when you navigate on the next page, on page load, you use the ID to invoke a service to get information about that session. So you get the value from local storage, ID, put it into the URL for our service. It will be invoked with the information about session. So that's the easiest way to do it. All right. Hopefully, so this makes a little bit more sense, right? So cloud platform, you get development tools, you get a builder. The app is just HTML, jQuery mobile app, or again, you can also do PhoneGap. You got REST APIs. You saw, again, if you guys have any REST API, we've got time, actually almost done. I'll be more than happy to try it and do it. So REST APIs and, of course, cloud services. So this, everything gives you your mobile app. All right? So as I promised, I have one more slide, right? There was a question in that, I think, in the list, right? Price, right? So it is a service, right? So it's not a product you download. So it's similar to like Salesforce or other. So, and it's a freemium model. So there is a free plan, there is a middle plan, and there is kind of a pro plan. And actually, all plans get the same features, right? So the only difference is the number of apps you can build. Okay? But if you guys use this code, Java 112, right? You're going to get 3 months of pro plan where you can build 50 apps. Right? 50 months maybe doesn't sound like a lot, but trust me, it's a lot of apps to build. It's 50. Right? If you really love it and you need more time, and you can always email me, can get you more time. But again, keep in mind, everyone gets the same features. Now, my email, I guess I should put my email on that slide as well. But this is my email. Now, it says XRL. So XRL is sort of the company that's backing this platform. So I work for XRL, but the platform is called Tiggzi, right? But again, we're out of Concord, East Bay. So it's the company behind the platform. Yes? Yeah, so the question was if I can create an app and put it in the App Store, Android. Yes, you can. So basically, you would export. And as I said, this is right here is Android binary. Okay, so if you guys want, maybe at the end, or you can scan the QR code, or I can email it to you later if you would like, and you can put it on your phone. So Android is going to be simple. You can put this file today in 10 minutes into the App Store, and it will be available. Yeah, you do have to sign up with a certificate. Yeah, if I click here, it's going to ask me to set the certificates and information. So yeah, it's a little bit more involved. And of course, your app won't appear right away there, you know. So, but yeah, for Windows Phone, we give you the source. You would have to, you know, build it yourself in Visual Studio, or you can use PhoneGap Build. If you guys are familiar with the service, it's a cloud service for building. So this is not PhoneGap Build. This is our own. But you could take it to PhoneGap Build, and I think they provide Windows 7 support for packaging the app. Yes, yes. So anything PhoneGap allows you to do, you can basically use. So.
Any
Yes.
way to distinguish between a tablet and an iPhone? Does the platform contain any logic in creating an app that looks different on the tablet?
Yeah. So the question was if there's any difference between a phone app and a tablet app. So we have a separate template for a tablet, which basically is a bigger screen. But it also has it's actually more specific to iPad. It has this master detail. It has a menu on one side, and you can select. But in general, we use jQuery mobile, and it will just kind of automatically stretch for the. Now the question is, if you're, for example, doing responsive design of some sort, where if it's an iPad, show this menu. If it's a phone, don't show this menu. So yeah, it's not supported in the tool yet, but you can still do it yourself. So you can write any JavaScript code here, and you can do CSS, anything. And primarily, you do it through these events, and for example, run custom JavaScript. So you can run any JavaScript, right? If you need, you select any elements in the DOM and do anything you want with that. So there is jQuery available, there is jQuery mobile. You can also add any other libraries you want. So if you go to project external resources, you can add any JavaScript library, load into your project via URL. Or you can create a new JavaScript file. So the question was, is a try it account? So again, there's actually a free account, right? So you can, there is no, now, but as I said, if you, where is this? Use this code, and you're going to get, basically you'll be able to build more apps. That's the only difference. All right, I know there are 15 minutes left. Again, if you guys have any questions, or there's actually a REST API that you guys have, I'll be more than happy to try it.
And for the documentation, you can check the blog, or there's a...
Yeah, if you go to Tiggzi.com, there is a help link or support link. Yeah, it should be there. But go on the desktop. The phone is going to take you to a login screen. When you go to Tiggzi.com, Tiggzi, go on the desktop. Yeah. On the phone, it takes you to a slightly different site. So check it out on a, again, regular browser. Yes? The question was if you have to use a cloud database. You can use your own, but it has to be, again, available somewhere on the internet. Yeah. I mean, it can be a database running on your computer, right? Because, I mean, at the end, the app is running on your phone, right? So it can access, has to be available on the internet, plus has to be REST enabled. So yeah, anything that's... right? Anyone has a REST API that's simple to type? No? All right. You guys are not prepared. Thank you.